home of Paul and Louise Cullen in Wicklow, it's tea time for the lodgers.
This is Barney, a male barn owl, and this is Beany, a long-eared owl of unknown sex at this stage, because it's only this year's young one, so we haven't been able to sex it yet.
And he's the more vocal of the two.
It is, yes. It's only a young one, as I said. The way he arrived was we have breeding barn owls outside, and Barney was a weakling that was thrown out of the nesting box. So we took him in and we reared him up, and from then on we were stuck with him really. He just became a household pet.
How did you go about taming them or domesticating them?
Just handled them a lot, and the children were always rubbing them and picking them up, and they're just constantly in the kitchen, and if we moved inside in the evening we'd bring them inside with us.
And was there a problem feeding them in the early stages?
No, they were being... had to be careful with hygiene, because with them eating chicks or mice and being in the kitchen.
When they're very small, so Barney was only about that big when she was born, and when we took her in, she was only about 2 inches, 3 inches long, so she had to be fed with tweezers, little tiny slivers of meat. It's about every 4 hours, I think she'd have to get up during the night.
You just kept her beside the bed, and every time you'd wake up, you'd just give her a bit of meat.
So it was always the same as feeding the babies, huh?
Oh, yeah.
With your own 2 children here, you go through it again with 2 more owls.
Yeah.
So you have a family of 4 now.
Yeah. I'm not used to animals. It was Paul who introduced me to animals, but I love country life and the animals outside and building pens and all that goes with gardening.
When I met Louise first, her idea of old clothes was last year's fashion. That's about all. She never possessed a pair of Wellingtons. So.
I never possessed a pair of flat shoes, let alone
Wellingtons. High-heel
Wellingtons.
shoes. Our first walk in the countryside on a Sunday afternoon was I turned up with the dog and the Wellingtons and the gun, and Louise turned up dressed up to kill in a different way. So
he arrived to pick me up one afternoon, and I thought we'd be going for Sunday lunch or something, so I was all dressed up in my high heels, and Paul got out of the car with a Barber jacket and wellies and jeans, and off we traipsed off into Sally Gap for a walk.
And tell me, what do the family think of their city-reared girl out here in the country with these lads running around the kitchen?
They can't believe I really enjoy it. They love to come out, but just for a day, and at the end of the day they're happy to get home. But they think this is very, very far out. In the beginning, my parents used to stop halfway at Enniskerry with a flask of tea for a cup of tea, but now I think they can do the journey in one go, a whole half hour.
I've always had a pet owl, in fact, ever since we lived in England, and we used to have tawny owls. But one owl I used to have when I started to work first, used to come in to work with me, sit on the back seat of the car all day, the passenger seat, and it was just totally tame. And you'd see people walking past the car, and they'd see the owl, and the next second they'd see the head follow it, and you could see them walk past, and then they'd come back, and with horror and surprise, they'd see it was a real owl.
Beany's the more noisy one, really. He'd be more active. He would fly around and he'd come to your arm. Barney is the funnier of the two. If you're reading a newspaper, he comes and he pecks at the paper, or if you're on the telephone, he'll come over to the phone and he'll pick up a pencil. He'll do funny things that you won't expect him to do.